Imagine a world where love is more accessible than ever before. The world where, with a simple swipe, you can meet someone new, connect instantly, and begin a relationship without ever leaving your home. It sounds like a dream, doesn't it? But here's the paradox. Despite the unprecedented ease of connection, people are feeling lonelier than ever. Relationships are crumbling faster, commitment is becoming rarer, and true emotional intimacy seems to be slipping through our fingers. What is happening? What has changed in the way we experience love? The answer lies in the very technology that was meant to bring us closer. Dating apps, social media, and the overwhelming connectedness that has come with the digital age were all meant to make love easier to find. But rather than fostering deeper connections, they have created a world of superficial interactions and instant gratification. Despite having more ways to connect than ever, we seem to be losing the very thing we seek: meaningful relationships. There's an irony here that's hard to ignore. We can be surrounded by people in a virtual sense, yet feel more isolated than ever. The technology that should help us bridge the distance between us is, in many ways, only highlighting the emotional distance. It's as though we are all yearning for connection, but no one is truly listening. The problem with modern love isn't about a lack of opportunities, it's about a lack of depth. In this age of convenience and instant gratification, we often forget that love, the kind that endures and transforms, doesn't happen in a moment of serendipity. It requires patience, effort, and vulnerability. Yet, with the world offering endless distractions and easy exits, we are left questioning whether we are truly experiencing love or simply an illusion of it. As we dive deeper into this paradox, we must ask, in a world filled with infinite choices, where do we find real connection? The truth is, as much as we've gained in accessibility, we've also lost the art of building something meaningful. Throughout history, love has always been central to the human experience, shaping cultures, inspiring art, and defining personal fulfillment. Yet, the way we experience love today feels drastically different from the way it was understood just a few generations ago. In the past, love was not merely a feeling, it was a commitment, something that grew over time. It was rooted in necessity, shared responsibilities, and a deeper understanding that love was cultivated, not instantaneously found. For centuries, relationships were often driven by societal norms. Marriage, for example, was built on more than just emotional connection. It involved practical considerations, economic stability, societal alliances, and the need to raise children within a stable environment. Love wasn't something you found. It was something you worked on and nurtured over time. But today, love has been transformed. As society has evolved, particularly with the rise of modern technology and the empowerment of the individual, love has become a consumer product. It's something we chase, consume, and discard when it no longer serves us. The advent of social media, dating apps, and the culture of instant gratification has redefined love as something temporary, disposable, and often transactional. Psychologist Erich Fromm, in his seminal work The Art of Loving, argued that love is not something we find, but something we learn and practice. In his view, love is a skill, one that requires intentional effort and emotional maturity. Yet, in today's world, love is often seen as a right or an entitlement, something that should come effortlessly and fulfill all our emotional needs. The problem with this view is that it strips love of its deeper value. It turns it into something fleeting, superficial, and self-serving. As we consider the historical shift in how love is viewed and experienced, it's clear that we have moved away from a model where love was a lifelong commitment built on mutual understanding, patience, and effort. Now, love is often treated like a product to be consumed, leaving little room for the growth, endurance, and sacrifice that true love requires. But perhaps the greatest shift of all is the way we now view love as something that should always bring us personal fulfillment, rather than something we actively contribute to and build over time. We live in an age of unprecedented connectivity. With a simple tap on our smartphones, we can connect with someone on the other side of the world, begin a conversation, and potentially start a relationship. But beneath this seemingly boundless network of connection, there lies a disquieting truth. We are more isolated than ever. The rise of social media and dating apps, while offering countless ways to meet people, have only served to magnify the emotional distance between us. In this digital age, we are constantly bombarded with notifications, images, and updates from others. Yet, this constant flow of information does not necessarily equate to deeper emotional engagement. Social media, for example, allows us to share snippets of our lives, but these curated portrayals rarely reflect our true selves. Behind the perfect selfies, the carefully crafted posts, and the illusion of happiness, many are struggling with feelings of loneliness, disconnection, and a profound sense of isolation. This dissonance is even more apparent in the world of online dating. In theory, dating apps should make it easier to find love, but in practice, they often present a distorted version of reality. Profiles are carefully constructed, edited, and optimized to present the best version of ourselves, while masking flaws or complexities. What should be a space for genuine connection becomes a marketplace of superficial judgments based on looks, status, and limited information. Despite the ability to connect instantly with anyone, people often feel lonelier than ever. Studies show that, despite the increase in digital interactions, social isolation has risen, particularly among younger generations. One might argue that having the means to communicate at any given moment should ease our emotional burdens. Yet, this illusion of connection often only makes the void feel more pronounced, leaving many yearning for something real, something substantial. The truth is that while we may be connected in a digital sense, these connections are fleeting. The constant stream of information is overwhelming, but it leaves little room for meaningful engagement. We find ourselves surrounded by people, yet feeling utterly alone. The question then becomes, what are we truly connecting to? Is it the real person on the other side of the screen, or just an image, a projection, a curated version of themselves that is just as lonely as we are? In a world that promises freedom and choice, we find ourselves in an unexpected trap. The paradox of choice. Psychologist Barry Schwartz, in his book The Paradox of Choice, explains that the more options we have, the less satisfied we become with our decisions. The abundance of choice leads to an overwhelming sense of uncertainty, and in the context of relationships, this means that having endless potential partners at our fingertips can make it harder than ever to commit to one person. Dating apps have made the process of meeting people easier than ever. With just a swipe, we can scroll through hundreds of profiles, each presenting a new possibility. Yet, with so many options, commitment has become harder to achieve. The fear of missing out, or FOMO, creeps in. What if the person I choose isn't the best one? What if someone better is just one more swipe away? This constant abundance of options leads to what is called choice overload. The result is not more satisfaction, but more dissatisfaction. Relationships, once simple and grounded in shared experiences, have become transactional, consumed, until they no longer provide instant gratification. When things get difficult, instead of working through challenges, people turn to the next option, believing that there is always someone better waiting round the corner. The real cost of this endless choice is not just the difficulty in committing, but the failure to build meaningful connections. Relationships take time, effort, and vulnerability. And yet, in a world where we expect everything to come easily, we are often unwilling to put in the work. The moment a relationship faces difficulties, whether it's miscommunication, disagreement, or emotional distance, the temptation is to walk away rather than address the issues. But love, true love, requires endurance. It demands patience, sacrifice, and, above all, the acceptance that imperfection is a natural part of the journey. In today's world, where we have become accustomed to instant gratification, love is increasingly seen as a product that should always be fulfilling. But deep love, the kind that stands the test of time, is not about constant highs. It is about enduring the lows and choosing to stay through the tough moments. The paradox of choice is not just about the difficulty of making a decision, it's about the deeper fear of commitment. With every swipe, we become more entangled in a cycle of indecision, unable to fully invest in the person standing right in front of us. What we fail to realize is that the best relationships are not built on the absence of challenges, but on the ability to navigate them together. In the age of social media, love has been distorted into something seemingly perfect, an idealized version of romance that rarely aligns with reality. We are constantly exposed to curated, filtered depictions of relationships, perfectly staged vacations, romantic dinners, smiling faces in picturesque settings. These images, often highly edited and carefully selected, create an unrealistic standard for what love should look like. Social media presents a version of love that is always thrilling, always effortless, and always free of conflict. But this, as we know, is far from the truth. The reality of love is far messier. It involves vulnerability, difficult conversations, and moments of discomfort. Yet, social media teaches us that love should always feel effortless, as if it should come naturally and without struggle. The more we compare our relationships to those we see online, the more we feel inadequate, as though our love isn't good enough, because it doesn't resemble the filtered, perfect love we see in our feeds. This pressure to meet an idealized standard can lead to a cycle of dissatisfaction. When we compare ourselves to others, we begin to feel that our love is lacking, even when it is not. We set ourselves up for failure, believing that a perfect relationship should exist, one where the highs always outweigh the lows. The truth, however, is that love is not about perfection. It is about finding someone with whom you can weather life's challenges together. We forget that relationships, like life itself, are full of imperfection. They require hard work, sacrifice, and sometimes compromise. But these are the elements that help relationships grow stronger. The journey of love isn't defined by the flawless moments seen on Instagram. It is defined by the shared experiences, the moments of understanding, and the resilience shown in the face of difficulties. The danger lies in the belief that love should always look like what we see on a screen. When we buy into this illusion, we lose sight of what true love really is: an evolving bond, full of ups and downs, but ultimately, a journey worth taking. If we stop comparing and start embracing the reality of love imperfections, and all, we can begin to build relationships that are real, meaningful, and far more fulfilling than the curated versions we see online. At the heart of many modern relationships lies a profound fear of vulnerability. True intimacy requires a willingness to open up, to expose our weaknesses, fears, and insecurities to another person. But in a society that glorifies self-sufficiency and independence, admitting that we need someone else can feel like a weakness. Vulnerability has become something to avoid rather than embrace, and this fear has led to a rise in shallow, surface-level connections. In the modern world, we are constantly told to be strong, independent, and in control. We are encouraged to present the best version of ourselves to the world, one that is confident, successful, and seemingly unshakable. But this carefully constructed facade comes at a cost. When we shield ourselves from vulnerability, we also shield ourselves from the deep, emotional connections that make relationships truly meaningful. It's easy to say we want love, but to truly allow someone into our lives means allowing them to see us at our most vulnerably, our weakest, most fearful moments. And this is where many people retreat. They avoid deep emotional connections because they fear getting hurt, or worse, being rejected for their flaws and imperfections. But this fear of vulnerability creates a cycle of unfulfilling relationships, where no one truly knows the other, and both are left yearning for something deeper. The problem with this approach is that it prevents us from experiencing the very connection we desire. We may have hundreds of shallow interactions, but these will never fill the void of true intimacy. Relationships built on vulnerability, on the willingness to share our innermost thoughts and emotions, are the ones that thrive. These are the relationships that allow us to grow, to learn from each other, and to become stronger together. So why do we fear vulnerability so much? Perhaps it's because we've been taught that to be vulnerable is to be weak, to be exposed, to be at risk. But in reality, vulnerability is the doorway to genuine connection. It is only by allowing ourselves to be truly seen flaws, fears, and all that we can experience the deep, transformative love that we all long for. Without vulnerability, we are left with nothing but hollow connections that never go beyond the surface. If modern love feels fractured and fleeting, what is the root cause? The answer lies in how we have redefined love itself. Over the past several decades, love has been commodified, reduced to a mere pursuit of personal happiness and fulfillment. Modern society, in all its focus on individualism and self-expression, has shifted love from a deep transformative force into a transactional experience, something to be sought for immediate gratification. But if we are to reclaim the essence of love, we must begin by shifting our understanding of what it truly means. Psychologically, we have been conditioned to view love as something we find, like a perfect match or a soulmate, instead of something we actively build. In his work, philosopher Alain de Botton suggests that love is not a state of being, but an ongoing, active process of learning and growth. The idea that love should always feel exciting, passionate, and effortless is a fantasy that distracts us from the reality. Love is built through moments of patience, understanding, and resilience. Philosophers like Erich Fromm, whose book The Art of Loving is a cornerstone of modern relationship theory, argue that love is a skill. It is something we must cultivate, practice, and learn, rather than something that magically occurs. True love, Fromm insists, is not about finding the right person, but about learning how to love, how to give, and how to commit despite imperfections. Yet in today's world, we are taught that love should come easily, that if it's the right love, it will always feel effortless. This perspective is not only unrealistic, but also harmful. It sets us up for failure, as we expect the impossible, a relationship without conflict, without effort, and without growth. In reality, the relationships that last, the ones that stand the test of time, are those in which both partners are willing to commit to a shared journey of growth, navigating the ups and downs together. What we need to understand is that love is not a destination, but a continuous process. It requires effort, patience, and the willingness to grow together. Rather than viewing love as something that should complete us, we must begin to see it as an act of creation, something we must consciously build every single day. And in doing so, we shift from expecting love to be an effortless feeling, to understanding that it is an evolving journey, rich with both beauty and hardship. This shift in perspective is not easy, but it is necessary if we are to reclaim love from the distorted ideals that pervade our modern world. Love is not something that just happens to us. It is something we create, something we work at, and something we choose every single day. The rise of individualism, celebrated as the ultimate expression of personal freedom and self-discovery, has had unintended consequences on how we experience love. While personal freedom allows for growth and exploration, it has also led to an environment where forming lasting, meaningful connections is more difficult than ever. The modern world places a premium on independence, on being able to stand alone, to pursue one's own goals, and to rely only on oneself. Yet, in our quest for autonomy, we may be neglecting the deep emotional bonds that are essential for building a strong, enduring relationship. In the past, relationships were built on shared responsibilities and a deep commitment to others. Love was something that required mutual dependence, a recognition that two individuals could grow together, supporting each other through life's challenges. But today, the idea of doing it alone has infiltrated even our romantic lives. We are told that we should be self-sufficient, that we should not rely on others for our happiness or emotional fulfillment. This mindset creates a paradox. While we are encouraged to pursue individual success, it leaves us ill-prepared to build the deep, interdependent connections that relationships require. Modern love, shaped by the same consumerist culture that defines every other aspect of our lives, has become fluid and unstable. Relationships, once considered lifelong commitments, are now seen as temporary, easily discarded when the initial thrill fades or when conflicts arise. Zygmunt Bauman, in his book Liquid Love, discusses how relationships in today's world have become liquid and anchored, ever-changing and fragile. He argues that this liquid love is a direct result of the consumerist mentality that governs our society, where we are taught to treat relationships as disposable commodities. If a relationship doesn't deliver instant gratification, we move on to the next one, just as we would discard a product that no longer meets our needs. The result is a generation of people who struggle with commitment, who are quick to give up on relationships at the first sign of difficulty. Rather than investing time and energy into making love work, many believe that a better partner is always just around the corner. The willingness to build something lasting, to nurture a relationship through both good times and bad days, lost in the constant pursuit of something better, something more exciting. What we need to understand is that true love requires emotional resilience. It requires the willingness to invest in another person and to face life's challenges together. As long as we view relationships as disposable, we will never experience the depth of love that comes from shared commitment. Love is not about finding the perfect partner or the ideal match. It's about building something real, something lasting, with the person who is standing right in front of us. In the landscape of modern love, relationships often feel fragile, held together by a delicate thread. The ease of starting a relationship has created an environment where emotional endurance is in short supply. The expectation that love should always be exciting, effortless, and fulfilling leads many to abandon relationships the moment they encounter any form of difficulty. Instead of facing challenges together, many people opt to move on, convinced that a better, more fulfilling relationship is just one swipe away. This mindset turns love into a transactional experience, one where the value of a relationship is measured by the immediate satisfaction it provides, rather than the deeper connection it fosters over time. It's a mentality that sees love as something to be consumed and experienced that should always feel fresh, thrilling, and free from conflict. The moment the honeymoon phase fades, many people begin to question the relationship, often abandoning it in search of something new. But the truth about love is that it isn't about constant excitement. It's about the ability to grow and evolve together, to weather the storms of life side by side. The strongest relationships are not the ones without conflict. They are the ones in which both partners have the emotional resilience to navigate conflict and come out stronger on the other side. The fragility of modern love lies in the unrealistic expectations we place on it. We expect love to be a constant high, an ongoing state of bliss. But real love is built on the foundation of mutual respect, shared experiences, and the willingness to accept one another's flaws. It is not about perfection. It's about learning to love each other through the imperfections. When we approach relationships with the mindset that they should always be fulfilling and effortless, we set ourselves up for disappointment. The reality is that every relationship will go through difficult times. There will be moments of disconnection, misunderstandings, and frustrations. But it is precisely these moments that provide the opportunity for growth. The relationships that last are not the ones that are always easy, but the ones where both partners are willing to put in the effort, to face their challenges together, and to grow from them. The fragility of modern love is not an inherent flaw in relationships. It is a result of our unrealistic expectations and our refusal to commit to the hard work that love requires. If we are to build lasting relationships, we must learn to embrace the difficulties, the imperfections, and the growth that come with them. One of the most significant barriers to lasting love in modern society is our collective avoidance of emotional discomfort. In a world where convenience and immediate gratification are prioritized, many people have become unaccustomed to the emotional labor required for deep, meaningful relationships. Disagreements, vulnerabilities, and the natural ebb and flow of emotions are all part of the human experience, yet they are often viewed as obstacles to overcome, rather than opportunities for growth. In modern relationships, there is a growing tendency to avoid discomfort at all costs. The moment a relationship becomes difficult, people often question whether it is worth continuing, believing that love should always be easy and conflict-free. This mindset is fueled by a society that constantly promotes comfort and ease, whether through consumer goods, entertainment, or social media. If something isn't working perfectly, the quick fix is to replace it with something new, something more satisfying. However, this mindset does a disservice to love. True emotional intimacy requires a willingness to face discomfort, to sit with difficult emotions, and to work through conflict in a way that strengthens the relationship. Love is not just about feeling good, it's about learning to navigate the complex emotional terrain that comes with truly knowing and being known by another person. When we avoid emotional discomfort, we miss out on the opportunity to deepen our connection with our partner. Relationships are not static, they evolve, and part of this evolution involves facing challenges together. Whether it's resolving misunderstandings, overcoming personal insecurities, or navigating life's hardships, these moments of emotional discomfort are where love is truly tested and ultimately strengthened. The discomfort of conflict is not a sign that love is failing. Rather, it is a sign that the relationship is growing. Avoiding these difficult moments, or worse, walking away when things get tough, only leads to shallow, unfulfilling connections. To build lasting love, we must be willing to face discomfort head-on, to confront our own fears, insecurities, and emotional baggage, and to do so with the person we love. If we learn to embrace discomfort as part of the process, we open the door to deeper emotional intimacy and stronger, more resilient relationships. The key to lasting love is not the absence of conflict, but the ability to navigate it with patience, empathy, and a commitment to growing together. In today's digital age, social media has profoundly altered how we perceive ourselves and our relationships. Platforms designed to connect us with others have instead become a mirror, reflecting a curated version of ourselves that often falls short of our real selves. With every post, like, and comment, we receive a constant stream of external validation, making our sense of self-worth increasingly dependent on how others see us. This reliance on external approval has distorted our view of love, shifting the focus from genuine emotional connection to superficial validation. When we upload photos or status updates, we are often seeking affirmation, likes, comments, shares that validate our existence, our beauty, or our intelligence. For many, the number of likes on a post becomes a measure of how desirable or worthy they are. This validation, however, is fleeting and shallow. It offers momentary satisfaction, but fails to nourish our deeper emotional needs. Over time, we begin to tie our sense of self-worth to the opinions of others, leaving us vulnerable to a constant cycle of seeking approval. In the context of relationships, this dynamic becomes even more pronounced. Dating apps and social media platforms have created a world where our worth is constantly evaluated, not just by how we present ourselves, but also by how we are perceived by potential partners. Profiles are optimized to show us at our best, yet this version of ourselves is often far removed from the complexities and messiness of real life. The pressure to maintain a polished image, both online and in relationships, makes it harder to show our authentic selves, as we fear judgment or rejection. The danger of this is clear. When we rely on social media and external validation to determine our value, we lose sight of the most important thing, our intrinsic worth. Love should be about accepting ourselves and others for who we truly are, not for how we appear on a screen, or how many likes we receive. But when we are constantly bombarded with curated images of other people's perfect lives and relationships, we begin to measure our worth against unrealistic standards. True intimacy and love cannot thrive in a world where self-worth is constantly dictated by the external world. To reclaim love, we must first reclaim our sense of self, learning to find value not in the approval of others, but in our own authenticity. When we can love ourselves' imperfections and all, we open the door to deeper, more meaningful connections with others. One of the most significant challenges modern love faces today is the pressure of unrealistic expectations. Society, fueled by social media, films, and advertising, has painted a picture of love that is not only idealized, but also unattainable. The perfect relationship is often depicted as one where passion never fades, conflicts never arise, and happiness is a constant. The images we see on our feeds, in movies, and even in romantic literature create an illusion that love should always be effortless, smooth, and unchallenging. But the truth is that no relationship is without its difficulties. Every partnership will face its own set of challenges, disagreements, and moments of doubt. The unrealistic portrayal of love often leads people to believe that true love should feel like a fairy tale, where problems are minimal and happiness comes easily. As a result, when difficulties inevitably arise in a relationship, many feel disappointed or disillusioned. We ask ourselves, why doesn't my love life look like that? Or why aren't we always happy and excited? These comparisons to an idealized version of love only serve to make us feel inadequate, creating dissatisfaction and a belief that the relationship is somehow lacking. In reality, love is a journey that requires effort, patience, and compromise. It is not always about sweeping gestures of romance or perfect harmony. It's about navigating life's challenges together, growing and evolving as individuals and as partners. Relationships take work. They require communication, the willingness to admit faults, and the ability to accept imperfections in both ourselves and our partners. Yet, society has set the bar so high that we forget this fundamental truth. Love is not about perfection, it's about learning to embrace and appreciate each other through the ups and downs. We often approach relationships with the expectation that they should always be exciting, always passionate, and always effortless. This mindset not only distorts our understanding of love, but also sets us up for disappointment. When challenges arise, whether they involve miscommunication, emotional strain, or the natural ebb and flow of any long-term partnership, we may be tempted to walk away, believing that if the relationship were truly the one, it wouldn't require so much work. The pressure to maintain the fantasy of the perfect relationship undermines our ability to deal with the reality of relationships. It blinds us to the fact that love is built on mutual respect, shared experiences, and the commitment to weathering life's storms together. In a world of unrealistic expectations, we must learn to redefine love. True love is not about avoiding challenges or constantly seeking excitement. It's about building something lasting, something authentic, by navigating the difficult moments with patience and understanding. If we let go of the fantasy and embrace the reality of love, one that includes imperfections, conflicts, and growth, we can begin to cultivate relationships that are not just beautiful on the surface, but rich with meaning and depth. In a world where convenience is king and instant gratification is the norm, we often forget that love is not just something we feel, it is something we choose. Every day, in every interaction, we have the power to nurture or neglect the relationships in our lives. Love is not passive, it is an active process, one that requires intentional effort and constant commitment. The daily choices we make, whether we show up for our partner, whether we listen with empathy, or whether we choose to be present in the moment, determine the strength of our love. The idea that love should always come naturally or effortlessly is a myth that we must abandon. Real love is about showing up, even when it's hard. It's about making the conscious decision to stay engaged, to communicate, and to work through difficulties together. Love is not about waiting for the perfect moment or the perfect partner. It is about choosing to invest in each other, even in the face of challenges, even when things aren't easy. We often hear the phrase, falling in love, which suggests that love happens to us, as if it's something that we have little control over. But the reality is that love is built over time. It's constructed from the small, everyday decisions we make, from the kindness we show, the patience we practice, and the respect we give. These seemingly insignificant choices are the foundation of lasting love. Every relationship, whether romantic or platonic, requires emotional labor. This means showing up for one another, being vulnerable, and choosing to act with love. Even in the most trying circumstances, love cannot thrive without this daily commitment. Just as we must nurture ourselves, our physical, mental, and emotional health, we must also nurture our relationships. They do not flourish on their own. They need to be tended to, cared for, and invested in. This daily choice can be challenging, especially when life gets busy, when conflicts arise, or when we're feeling emotionally drained. But the effort is always worth it. Every small act of care, every moment of understanding, every expression of love adds up, creating a bond that is resilient and unbreakable. True love is not just about what we feel in the moment. It's about what we do, day in and day out, to show our commitment to each other. If we begin to view love as a conscious, daily choice, something we actively build and nurture, we will shift away from the fantasy of effortless romance and embrace the beauty of love that grows through intentional, heartfelt decisions. Love may not always be easy, but it will always be worth the effort. To create love that lasts, we must ground ourselves in a few essential principles. Love is not something that happens overnight. It is not a fleeting feeling that comes and goes, but a constant act of creation. It is built on trust, respect, and a shared willingness to grow together through both the joys and the difficulties. There are three core principles that are fundamental to building lasting love: emotional availability, resilience through difficulty, and the ability to love without needing perfection. First, emotional availability is crucial for any relationship. True love requires presence, not just physical presence, but emotional presence. It means showing up not only in moments of joy, but in moments of struggle, too. It means being willing to listen, to understand, and to share your innermost thoughts and fears. Without emotional availability, relationships are shallow, transactional exchanges rather than deep, meaningful connections. In the age of distractions and busyness, being emotionally available is a choice. It requires the commitment to put aside distractions, to be present in the moment, and to engage with your partner on a deep level. When both partners are emotionally available, they create a foundation of trust, where vulnerability is met with understanding, not judgment. This emotional safety allows love to grow and deepen, even in the face of challenges. Second, resilience through difficulty is a vital principle in building lasting love. Every relationship will face obstacles, misunderstandings, arguments, external pressures, and personal struggles. Love that lasts is not defined by the absence of conflict, but by the ability of both partners to navigate those challenges together. Resilience is not about avoiding difficulties, but about having the strength to work through them. Resilient couples don't give up when things get hard. Instead, they see challenges as an opportunity for growth. They communicate openly, practice empathy, and approach conflicts with a mindset of mutual respect and understanding. Love thrives when both people are willing to face difficulties head-on, knowing that overcoming these struggles together will only strengthen their bond. Finally, the ability to love without needing perfection is perhaps the most important principle. No one is perfect, and no relationship is flawless. The fantasy of perfect love free from conflict, misunderstanding, or imperfection sets us up for failure. Real love involves accepting each other's flaws and learning to embrace them as part of the journey. Loving without needing perfection means accepting that both you and your partner will make mistakes. It means forgiving each other and choosing to move forward, rather than holding on to grudges or expecting the impossible. It's about creating space for growth, both individually and as a couple. And understanding that love is not about being flawless. It's about being committed to each other through every imperfection. When these core principles are in place, love becomes something that endures. It's not just about passion or excitement, it's about building a life together, step by step, through the highs and lows. This love, grounded in emotional availability, resilience, and acceptance of imperfection, will withstand the test of time, transforming both partners along the way. As we reach the final chapter in our exploration of modern love, it's time to uncover the most powerful truth about relationships, one that has the potential to change everything. The crisis we face in modern love is not due to a lack of desire or the rise of technology. It is rooted in how we perceive love itself. In the modern world, we treat love as something we passively experience, waiting for it to happen, rather than something we actively create. But if we are to reclaim love in its most fulfilling and transformative form, we must redefine our understanding of it. The most profound shift we need to make is viewing love not as an emotion that simply occurs, but as a skill that requires practice, intention, and effort. Love is not a perfect, effortless experience. It is something we build, layer by layer, through shared moments, challenges, and growth. It is about choosing to commit, every day, to our partners, to weathering the ups and downs, and to embracing the imperfect beauty of life together. Psychologist John Gottman, who has spent decades studying relationships, found that the key to lasting love is not grand gestures or constant excitement, but small, consistent acts of care and understanding. Couples who endure and thrive over time are those who prioritize mutual respect, emotional safety, and the willingness to work through problems together. They know that love is not about perfection, it's about resilience, about learning to grow alongside each other, even when things aren't easy. The greatest misconception about love today is that it should always be exciting, effortless, and fulfilling. But the truth is that love, the kind that lasts, is built through struggle and growth. Every relationship will go through phases of disconnection, doubt, and even boredom. These moments are not signs of failure, they are opportunities for the relationship to strengthen, for both partners to learn more about themselves and each other, and to deepen their bond. Love is not about finding the perfect person who will fulfill all our needs. It is about learning to love an imperfect person, to accept their flaws, and to build something meaningful together. Real love is not about avoiding challenges. It is about facing them with courage, patience, and a deep sense of commitment. It's about growing together in ways that transform not only the relationship but both individuals within it. As we redefine love, we must shift away from the consumer-driven mindset that defines so much of modern life. Love is not something to consume, to take, or to discard when it no longer brings instant satisfaction. It is something to create, something to invest in, and something to nurture over time. The most powerful truth about love, then, is this: love is not a passive experience. It is an active choice, a choice to be vulnerable, to show up, and to commit to growth. If we embrace this understanding, we can transform the way we experience relationships, shifting from a mindset of entitlement to one of intentionality. The future of love is not about waiting for it to happen. It's about making the decision to build it every single day. As we conclude this journey, ask yourself, what kind of love are you creating? Are you cultivating a love that grows, evolves, and endures? Are you willing to build love, not on ideals, but on the reality of your shared life, with all its imperfections? The solution to the crisis of modern love is not to abandon it, but to understand it in a deeper, more meaningful way. Love is not something we passively receive. It is something we actively create. And when we truly understand this, everything changes.